Fierce warriors and cunning survivalists, the Shoshone Indians stretched far and wide across the native United States. Varied in culture but joined in spirit, the Shoshone left an everlasting mark on the continent. Ancient Shoshone ancestors originated in the wide area of the Great Basin and Great Plains of North America. This land is similar to a vast cupped desert area which is located west of the Rocky Mountains and east of the Sierra Nevada. But soon competing powerful tribes pushed the Shoshone out of these lands, which caused a great split in the tribe. They traveled south from the northern plains but west of the Continental Divide. Now separated into three primary groups, the northern, eastern, and western, the northern Shoshone were scattered across modern-day Wyoming, Idaho, and Utah. The eastern Shoshone lived in modern-day Wyoming, Colorado, and Montana. And the largest subdivision, the western Shoshone, were centralized in Oregon, Idaho, Utah, and Nevada. But once the white settlers began to move west into America, Shoshone land became increasingly tightened until they were moved onto specific reservations located across the country. Now the northern Shoshone share the Fort Hall Reservation in Idaho, the eastern Shoshone predominantly reside in an immensely large Wind River Reservation in Wyoming, and the rest of the modern Shoshone are spread thin across reservations in Wyoming, Idaho, and Nevada. Early Shoshone ancestors most likely moved north from southwest North America between 1 and 1000 CE. Then they began to migrate onto the plains around 1500 CE, although some instead traveled into the Rocky Mountains after acquiring horses from the Europeans. But once the Shoshone were broken up as they spread out to the new lands, they began to develop seemingly different ways of life. For many years, the tribes thrived across central North America with neighboring Indians, although soon a great wake-up call was right at America's doorstep. Once white settlers began colonizing and eventually divvying up the western land to the highest bidder, the Shoshone were forced to comply with the demands of the Americans. In 1851, the Shoshone signed the Fort Laramie Treaty for promised annuities, but by 1857, the once proud and self-sufficient northern Shoshone were forced down on their knees because of starvation and had to become dependent on the United States government. As a result, Chief Sagwitch and 9 northwestern tribal chieftains all signed the Treaty of 1863, relinquishing their land to the United States in return for what they thought was permanent land on reservations. Although known to peacefully comply with Americans, the Shoshone did have multiple uprisings and resistance to these changes. The Indians of the Great Basin often waylaid Pony Express mail persons, cut telegraph lines and attacked workers operating on them, and launched a short-lived uprising in the Salmon River Mountains in Idaho. In addition, one group of western Shoshone from present-day Utah caused numerous raids along popular frontier trails like the California, Oregon, and Salt Lake Road. The biggest Shoshone uprising was led by the warlike Chief Bear Hunter. As Mormon farmers began immigrating into their land, the Shoshone began to fight back in 1862 by raiding cattle herds and attacking mining parties in Montana. But during the early morning of January 29, 1863, Colonel Patrick Edward Connor led 200 volunteer militiamen from Salt Lake City into the camp of Chief Bear Hunter's 450 Indians. After 4 hours of fighting, 250 Indians lay dead, including Chief Bear Hunter himself. This was the last major form of resistance against white settlers. The name Shoshone means high-growing grass, which is a reference to the Great Plains area they lived in. In addition, Shoshone groups all have unique artistic traditions, like moccasins, woven tapestries, and ornate weapons. The Shoshone religion was centered in dreams, an omniscient creator, and a strong belief in self-reliance, courage, and wisdom. Animals such as coyotes and wolves, and natural aspects of their environment played a role too. The Indians were in constant contact with the spirits of their environment. For food, initially the Shoshone were nomadic foragers desperately scouring for scarce food in this barren environment. For game, the northern Shoshone were major fishermen since they were lucky to live along rivers. The eastern Shoshone hunted squirrels and rabbits on the forested slopes of the Rocky Mountains. As they progressed with white settlers, horses mobilized the Indians, giving them the power to hunt more extensively. The northern and eastern Shoshone lived in teepees along the plains that were constructed of buffalo hide, while the western Shoshone made homes called wickiups, which are frame huts with bark matting. But many Indians didn't build homes at all and merely took shelter in nearby caves so they could move with their food source. Only after reservations did the Shoshone become sedentary because of being constricted. Two important people of the Shoshone were Sacagawea and Chief Washakie. Sacagawea, a Lemhi Shoshone woman, was responsible for being the most valuable asset to the Lewis and Clark exploration. As a translator and guide, she gained the trust and assistance of Indian tribes along the way, and also could lead the Corps discovery through dangerous areas of the wilderness. Chief Washakie was one of the Shoshone's great chiefs that advocated for peace between the tribes and the whites. He had good relations between frontierspeople and traders. He also signed the Treaty of 1863, guaranteeing safe passage for Americans through Indian lands, and the modern Wind River Reservation in Wyoming for the eastern Shoshone. The population of 10,000 Shoshone members today is stationed on reservations across midwestern United States. They keep up many of their older traditions in modern times, like the very popular Sundance, which is an important Indian event held every summer. The eastern Shoshone still live on their native lands. Shoshone leaders also hold get-togethers to engage in ceremonies where the congregation as a whole prays for family members, individuals, or the tribe. Although enduring many hardships throughout their history, the Shoshone have proven their worth and are still a substantial aspect of our country's history as one of the strongest and most adaptable Indian tribes.